In early April 1945, west of the Rhine River, United States First Army under Lieutenant General Courtney Hodges and Ninth Army under Lieutenant General William Simpson executed a bold maneuver to encircle Germany's industrial Ruhr region, trapping 317,000 German troops of Army Group B. The operation began with crossings at Remagen, where First Army seized the Ludendorff Bridge in March, establishing a bridgehead that expanded eastward toward Paderborn at 15 miles per day under favorable weather. Simultaneously, Ninth Army crossed the Rhine farther north, turning southeast with mechanized units advancing at similar speed, supported by secure bridging operations that spanned the river in under 48 hours. The Ruhr, Germany's industrial heart, produced 70% of the Reich's coal and steel, sustaining its war machine since 1939. Its loss would sever Germany's ability to resist in the West. The United States 12th Army Group, led by General Omar Bradley, recognized the Ruhr's strategic weight. By linking 1st and 9th Armies behind the region, they could isolate Field Marshal Walter Model's Army Group B, including 5th Panzer Army and 15th Army units, along with scattered Volkssturm and police forces. On 1 April, American spearheads met near Lippstadt, closing a ring around the Ruhr in just weeks, a maneuver enabled by mobile armor and air superiority, delivering 5,000 sorties weekly. German defenses, expecting to hold the Rhine as a natural barrier, were outpaced by American logistics and engineering, which maintained supply lines across the river, despite intermittent shelling. The encirclement speed completed in under 10 days shattered German assumptions of prolonged resistance. From the German perspective, the turning point stung American tanks outran our redeployments, severing Ruhr from Berlin in days. Model, known for stabilizing fronts in Russia, now faced an industrial region, cut off from fuel and ammunition, with no viable retreat. His orders from Adolf Hitler demanded a stand-fast defense, but American air and artillery dominance, delivering 10,000 tons of bombs, monthly disorganized counterattacks. The cold reality settled. Bridges stood for 48 hours before capture or destruction. The Ruhr, once a symbol of German industrial might, became a trap, its coal mines and steelworks useless without eastward rail lines now under American control. As April 1945 unfolded, the United States First and Ninth Armies tightened their stranglehold on the Ruhr pocket, advancing with relentless precision across a landscape scarred by war. First Army under Lieutenant General Courtney Hodges surged eastward from the Remagen bridgehead, capturing vital road hubs like Siegen, at 12 miles daily under crisp spring skies. Meanwhile, Ninth Army, led by Lieutenant General William Simpson, carved through northern Ruhr cities like Duisburg, their mechanized columns slicing through German defenses at matching speed. The pocket, a sprawling 150 miles of perimeter, ensnared 317,000 German troops of Army Group B, including battered units of 5th Panzer Army and 15th Army, alongside ragtag Volkssturm and police. Detachments clinging to urban strongholds. Allied air forces unleashing 5,000 sorties weekly, pounded German positions, shattering supply depots and rail yards with surgical accuracy, leaving no room for organized resistance. Inside the pocket field, Marshal Walter Model wrestled with a collapsing command. Hitler's orders to hold the Ruhr, once supplying 70% of Germany's coal and steel, rang hollow against the reality of severed fuel lines and faltering radios. German tanks, limited to 20 miles of daily range under strict rationing, stood idle, as American artillery rained 10,000 shells weekly, turning roads into death traps. Model's forces, once the Reich's industrial guardians, now faced civilian unrest in cities like Essen, where workers and families huddled amid rubble. In stark contrast, American commanders outside the pocket rotated divisions every 72 hours, their supply lines across the Rhine delivering 10,000 tons of materiel weekly. The disparity was vivid. American trucks rolled freely while German units crawled their movements, betrayed by dust clouds under relentless Allied air patrols. From the German perspective, the noose tightened mercilessly. American firepower choked our lines, isolating battalions within hours. The cold truth bit hard. Fuel reserves lasted 3 days at full mobility. Attempts to regroup or break eastward collapsed, as American engineers demolished or seized every bridge over the Ruhr River and its tributaries, severing escape routes. Allied aircraft, soaring at 20,000 feet, hunted German convoys by day, forcing fragmented night marches that bled cohesion. By mid-April, German resistance fractured into desperate urban holdouts, with local commanders in cities like Dortmund raising white flags to spare civilian lives from further ruin. The Ruhr, envisioned as an impregnable fortress, crumbled under the weight of American mobility and firepower, its factories silenced, its defenders cornered. By mid-April 1945, the Ruhr pocket shrank under the relentless advance of United States forces, their mechanized might grinding through Germany's industrial heart with cold efficiency. First Army under Lieutenant General Courtney Hodges swept through southern cities like Hagen, seizing rail junctions and factory districts at 10 miles daily, the spring air thick with dust from shattered concrete. Ninth Army, led by Lieutenant General William Simpson, pressed southward from Essen, their tanks rumbling through smouldering streets, capturing coal depots under skies streaked with Allied contrails. The pocket, now a constricted 80 miles across, held 317,000 German troops, remnants of 5th Panzer Army, 15th Army, and scattered Volkssturm, trapped with dwindling supplies. Allied air forces, hammering with 5,000 sorties weekly, turned German movements into deadly gambles, their bombs cratering roads and collapsing warehouses with precision. Field Marshal Walter Model, ensnared within the pocket, faced a disintegrating command under the shadow of Hitler's unyielding orders to hold fast. The Ruhr, once churning out 70% of Germany's coal and steel, lay paralyzed, its rail lines, severed its bridges, reduced to twisted steel within 48 hours of American assaults. German units, starved of fuel, limped at 10 miles daily, their radios crackling with static as communications frayed. The cold reality struck. Ammunition reserves lasted 4 days under sustained fire. American divisions, rotating every 72 hours, exploited intact road networks, their supply lines across the Rhine, delivering 10,000 tons of materiel weekly. In cities like Duisburg, civilians huddled in cellars, their fear mirroring the desperation of Model's troops, who faced both American shells and the spectre of urban collapse. From the German perspective, the end loomed in fire and ruin. American armor tore through our defenses, isolating us in hours. Allied aircraft prowling at 20,000 feet hunted stragglers, their bombs splintering makeshift barricades, while artillery pounded relentlessly, 10,000 shells weekly turning strongpoints into rubble. German resistance, once unified, fractured into desperate pockets, battalions holed up in factories, Volkssturm in basements, each cut off, outgunned and outmaneuvered. By 17 April, commanders in Dortmund and Essen surrendered their white flags, rising to halt the destruction of their cities. On 18 April, American forces tallied 317,000 prisoners, one of the Western Front's largest capitulations, as the Ruhr's industrial might vanished in a haze of smoke and defeat. Section 4. The Ruhr's Fall and the Western Front's Collapse. Previous. Section. Text. On 18 April, American forces tallied 317,000 prisoners, one of the Western Front's largest. Capitulations as the Ruhr's industrial might vanished in a haze of smoke and defeat. In late April 1945, the Ruhr pocket's collapse sent shockwaves across the Western Front as United States First and Ninth Armies, their task complete, pivoted eastward with unrelenting momentum. The capture of 317,000 German troops, shattered remnants of Army Group B, left Germany's western defences a hollow shell, unable to muster resistance west of the Elbe River. First Army under Lieutenant General Courtney Hodges surged toward the Elbe, their tanks and motorized infantry, carving paths through central Germany at 15 miles, daily spring fields churned to mud under their treads. Ninth Army, led by Lieutenant General William Simpson, paralleled the advance, seizing river crossings and villages under skies, ruled by 5,000 weekly Allied air sorties, their fighters roaring at 20,000 feet to silence German reconnaissance. The Ruhr, once fueling 70% of Germany's coal and steel, lay in ruins, its factories silent, its rail yards mangled, its strategic weight erased. Field Marshal Walter Model, his command obliterated, faced the final unravelling of his forces. On 21 April, He reportedly took his own life in a forest near Duisburg, refusing capture as his army dissolved. German units, stripped of fuel and cohesion, could muster only 10 miles of daily movement, their trucks abandoned, their soldiers trudging through debris-strewn roads. The cold truth was inescapable. German divisions had 2 days of fuel at most. American forces, by contrast, operated with clockwork precision, their supply lines across the Rhine, pumping 10,000 tons of materiel weekly, fueling relentless advances. In towns like Paderborn, German garrisons, often weary, Volkssturm or teenage conscripts raised white flags, their will broken by the thunder of American artillery and the wail of air raid sirens. From the German perspective, the collapse was absolute. American columns overran us. Our retreat cut off in hours. The Ruhr's fall shattered the myth of an impregnable industrial bastion, its loss exposing Germany's strategic bankruptcy. American mobility, backed by air superiority and engineering, that secured river crossings in 48 hours, outpaced German reactions, rendering Hitler's stand-fast orders futile. The operation's success cemented Allied confidence in large-scale encirclements, proving that even in 1945, integrated armor, infantry and air power could annihilate entire army groups. With the Ruhr gone, the path to central Germany lay open, the Western Allies' advance now a march toward occupation, their link-up with Soviet forces at the Elbe a mere formality. Section 5. The surge to the Elbe, previous, section, text. With the Ruhr gone, the path to central Germany lay open, the Western Allies' advance, now a march toward occupation, their link-up with Soviet forces at the Elbe, mere formality. In late April 1945, the United States First and Ninth Armies, unshackled from the Ruhr campaign, roared eastward toward the Elbe River, their mechanized columns cutting through Germany's heart like a blade through tattered cloth. First Army under Lieutenant General Courtney Hodges thundered across open fields, capturing villages and river fords at 15 miles daily, the spring sun glinting off tank treads, churning muddy tracks. Ninth Army, led by Lieutenant General William Simpson, matched the pace, seizing key junctions north of Magdeburg, their infantry sweeping through shattered towns under a sky alive with 5,000 weekly Allied air sorties. The Ruhr's collapse, which had claimed 317,000 German troops, left the Western Front, defenseless its coal and steel. Once 70% of Germany's output reduced to smouldering ruins, its strategic arteries severed. German remnants scattered like ash across central Germany could barely muster resistance. Fuel-starved and leaderless, their units limped at 10 miles daily on foot, abandoned vehicles littering roadsides under the watchful eyes of Allied fighters circling at 20,000 feet. The cold reality was brutal. German artillery had 50 rounds daily before silence fell. Local garrisons, haggard Volkssturm, teenage conscripts, or battered regulars crumbled as American spearheads approached, their white flags fluttering from church steeples and factory roofs to avoid annihilation. American logistics, by contrast, flowed seamlessly with supply lines across the Rhine, delivering 10,000 tons of material weekly, fueling an advance that seemed unstoppable. The 12th Army Group under General Omar Bradley orchestrated the drive with precision, assigning sectors to divisions that rolled forward like a tide over broken earth. From the German perspective, despair reigned. American tanks surged past our lines, shattered in hours. The Ruhr's loss had gutted Germany's war machine, leaving no fuel, no reserves, and no hope of regrouping. The Allies' air dominance bombing with pinpoint accuracy, and their engineers securing river crossings in 48 hours, turned every German maneuver into a death trap. By late April, the advance to the Elbe marked the end of maneuver warfare, as American forces prepared to meet Soviet armies, their convergence signaling Germany's final collapse in the West. The once mighty Wehrmacht, stripped of its industrial core and manpower, faced a relentless enemy that turned fields and towns into stepping stones for occupation. Section 6. The Elbe link-up and Germany's final collapse. Previous, section, text. The once mighty Wehrmacht, stripped of its industrial core and manpower, faced a relentless enemy that turned fields and towns into stepping stones for occupation. In early May 1945, The United States First and Ninth Armies reached the Elbe River, their tracks grinding through Germany's shattered heart to meet Soviet forces in a historic convergence that sealed the Reich's fate. First Army under Lieutenant General Courtney Hodges secured bridgeheads near Magdeburg, advancing 15 miles daily through fields littered with abandoned German equipment, the spring air heavy with the smoke of burning villages. Ninth Army, led by Lieutenant General William Simpson, swept southward, capturing river crossings under skies. Dominated by 5,000 weekly Allied air sorties, their fighters prowling at 20,000 feet to snuff out the last flickers of Luftwaffe resistance. The Ruhr's fall, claiming 317,000 German troops, had left the Western Front a graveyard of broken divisions. Its coal and steel, once 70% of Germany's war-making, might now silent heaps of rubble. German forces reduced to spectral remnants, disintegrated under the Allied onslaught. Scattered pockets of resistance, Volkssturm militias underfed conscripts, and leaderless regulars could muster only 10 miles of daily movement, their rifles clutching 20 rounds per soldier at best. The cold truth was stark. Ammunition lasted 2 days in combat. American logistics flowing like a river delivered 10,000 tons of materiel weekly across Rhine bridges, fueling an advance that crushed German hopes with mechanical precision. In towns like Dessau, white flags rose from shattered windows as commanders surrendered to spare civilians from the roar of American tanks and the relentless hammer of artillery pounding with 10,000 shells weekly. The 12th Army Group under General Omar Bradley orchestrated the final push, its divisions fanning out to secure a landscape where German resistance had become a fading echo. From the German perspective, the end was a funeral pyre. American and Soviet forces closed in our defences crumbled in hours. The Ruhr's collapse had severed Germany's industrial lifeline, leaving no fuel, no steel, and no will to fight. American engineers securing crossings in 48 hours, and air forces blanketing the sky turned every German position into a trap. On 7 May 1945, Germany's unconditional surrender formalized the inevitable as the Western Allies transitioned from conquest to occupation. The Wehrmacht, once a juggernaut, lay broken its last stand in the Ruhr, a distant memory as American troops prepared to administer a defeated nation, their path cleared by the encirclement's devastating success. On 7 May 1945, Germany's unconditional surrender formalized the inevitable as the Western Allies transitioned from conquest to occupation. The Wehrmacht, once a juggernaut, lay broken its last stand in the Ruhr, a distant memory as American troops prepared to administer a defeated nation, their path cleared by the encirclement's devastating success. The Ruhr encirclement of April 1945 stood as a thunderous epitaph to Germany's war machine, its industrial heart ripped out by the relentless precision of United States forces. The operation, which captured 317,000 German troops, dismantled Army Group B, and silenced the Ruhr's factories, once producing 70% of Germany's coal and steel. First Army under Lieutenant General Courtney Hodges and Ninth Army under Lieutenant General William Simpson had executed a masterstroke, their mechanized columns advancing 15 miles daily through spring's muddy fields, supported by 5,000 weekly air sorties that turned German skies into a no-man's land. The Ruhr's fall, completed in under 30 days, transformed the Western Front, stripping Germany of its ability to resist and opening a clear path to the Elbe, where American and Soviet forces linked in a final crushing blow. Germany's pre-war vision of the Ruhr as an impregnable fortress collapsed under the weight of American mobility and engineering. German commanders, bound by Hitler's stand-fast orders, could not counter the Allies' logistics, which delivered 10,000 tons of materiel weekly, nor their air dominance bombing from 20,000 feet with unrelenting accuracy. The cold reality endured. No German division sustained combat beyond 3 days without resupply. Scattered remnants, Volkssturm clinging to rubble conscripts abandoning rifles with 10 rounds left, surrendered in droves, their will shattered by the roar of American tanks and the wail of artillery barrages, 10,000 shells weekly, reducing strongpoints to dust. The operation exposed the futility of Germany's late-war strategy, its industrial might useless without open lines and maneuver space. From the German perspective, the Ruhr's loss was a death knell, American speed and firepower obliterated our defenses, ending resistance in weeks. The encirclement's legacy lay in its demonstration of Allied supremacy, blending armor, air power, and logistics to annihilate a fortified region. By May 1945, the Western Allies transitioned to occupation, their divisions fanning across Germany to administer a nation in ruins. The Ruhr's destruction achieved through river crossings, secured in 48 hours, and a relentless advance marked the end of Germany's war-making capacity in the West. It stood as a testament to American operational dominance, a campaign that reshaped the European war's final chapter and paved the way for a divided Germany's post-war fate. The Ruhr's destruction achieved through river crossings, secured in 48 hours, and a relentless advance marked the end of Germany's war-making capacity in the West. It stood as a testament to American operational dominance, a campaign that reshaped the European war's final chapter and paved the way for a divided Germany's post-war fate. In the weeks following May 1945, the Ruhr's smouldering ruins became a stark symbol of Germany's defeat, its once thriving industrial heart, now a landscape of twisted steel and silent furnaces. The encirclement, which had ensnared 317,000 German troops, left the region's coal mines, once yielding 70% of the Reich's supply. Buried under rubble, its steelworks shattered by 5,000 weekly Allied air sorties. United States First and Ninth Armies, having crushed Army Group B under Field Marshal Walter Model, transitioned from combat to occupation, their divisions fanning out across the Ruhr at 15 miles daily to secure factories and rail yards. American engineers who had bridged the Rhine in 48 hours now surveyed the devastation, cataloguing a region stripped of its war-making power, its cities like Essen and Dortmund reduced to hollow shells under the spring. Inderson. The German populace, caught in the wreckage, faced a new reality of Allied control. Civilians emerged from cellars, their faces gaunt, navigating streets choked with debris as American military police established order. The Wehrmacht's collapse left no resistance. Surviving units, their fuel gone after 2 days of movement, surrendered rifles with 10 rounds remaining. The cold fact was undeniable. Germany's industrial output ceased entirely by May's end. American logistics, still flowing with 10,000 tons of materiel weekly, supported the occupation, distributing food and supplies to a population reeling from defeat. The 12th Army Group under General Omar Bradley oversaw the transition, its commanders balancing reconstruction with the disarmament of a nation whose industrial might had fueled war for 6 years. From the German perspective, the Ruhr's fall was a wound that lingered. American efficiency crushed our spirit, leaving cities in ruin within weeks. The encirclement's legacy reshaped Germany's future, its industrial core dismantled, its manpower decimated. The operation, executed with air superiority at 20,000 feet and relentless ground advances, proved that no fortress could withstand coordinated Allied power. By mid-1945, the Ruhr's destruction signaled the end of Nazi Germany's ambitions, its loss paving the way for Allied occupation zones and the division of the nation. The campaign's efficiency, 317,000 prisoners taken in under 30 days, remained a stark reminder of American dominance, its echoes shaping the post-war rebuilding of a fractured Germany.